My name is Nickel, Nickel. As a lot of you guys know, YouTube's been kind of weird lately, so if you haven't turned on notifications yet, I would appreciate it if you did. All you have to do is hit that bell, check that box, and push save. That's it. It only takes a second, but it would help out a lot. But now let's just jump straight into the video. If you haven't watched yesterday's video about the new Overwatch comic called Reflections, you should check it out, because there's a lot of stuff in there. The thing that most people wanted to talk about was the fact that Tracer was possibly gay, because she kisses Emily. There were also a lot of other things in that comic, like a hint towards Widowmaker's past, and possibly towards her future. But most of the conversation was about Tracer. And there were people on both sides. People that were super happy about it, and people that weren't. Well, apparently, some people didn't get to see the comic at all. There were several tweets that went out of people saying that they weren't able to view the comic in Russia, that the comic was blocked. Like this tweet that said, "The new Overwatch comic is banned in Russia and unavailable in the language because of homophobic laws against gay propaganda." So when they tried to access the comic, it said this in Russian: "In accordance with Russian law, we cannot share this comic with our players on territory of Russian Federation." So a Blizzard spokesperson reached out to Mashable and confirmed that Russian-reading people will have to view the comic in a different language. So it sounds like they can read it, they just can't read it in Russian. And the statement they gave was pretty similar to the message that was on the actual comic, which said, "Due to local legislation in the Russian Federation, we are unable to bring our recent Overwatch digital comic to players in the region. We regret that those who were eager to read this story comic are unable to do so in their native language." So just in order to comply with the law, they couldn't show it. So a little background on why this might be the case, according to Wikipedia, is that a federal law was passed on June 29th, 2013, which banned the distribution of propaganda to minors which promotes non-traditional sexual relationships. And critics contend the law makes illegal holding any sort of public demonstration in favor of gay rights, speak in defense of LGBT rights, and distribute material related to LGBT culture, or to state that same-sex relationships are equal to heterosexual relationships. Additionally, the laws have received international condemnation from human rights campaigners and media outlets, that even displays of LGBT symbols, such as the rainbow flag, have resulted in arrests and incited homophobic violence. And then they make a reference to a Channel 4 documentary called Hunted, which I've never actually seen before, but apparently it follows anti-gay groups as they lure young gay men into traps where they were humiliated, and then they posted the footage online. And for a little bit more context in terms of the history, between 2006 and 2013, 10 regions of Russia enacted a ban on, quote, propaganda of homosexualism among minors. And the laws for 9 of these regions prescribe punishments of administrative sanctions and or fines. And the laws in some of these regions also forbid what they call propaganda of bisexualism and transgenderism to minors. So in other words, it doesn't look like certain parts of Russia are going to be getting the new Overwatch comic anytime soon. At least not officially. This next story is about the Overwatch year-end developer update. A lot of it was a recap of everything the Overwatch team has done since its release in May, which when you hear it all at once, it's a surprisingly long list. In only a few months. Jeff Kaplan, the game's director, was the one that did the update as usual. And he went over a lot of stuff the Overwatch team did, all the way back from implementing what they learned about competitive in the beta into Season 1, continually adapting competitive, up until most recently, which was when they adjusted how placements work. He talked about the fact how in 2016 they introduced 2 new characters, Ana and Sombra, and then he kind of explained their thought process between the 2 characters, in terms of their acceptance. He said they saw a lot of similarities between the 2 characters, like when Ana first came out, there was a perception that she was really weak, and she wasn't getting a lot of playtime because it took people a while to master her. So since people thought she was weak, they tweaked her to make her stronger, and then people said she was overpowered, and now they're trying to balance her down. And he says this is kind of the reason they're being so slow with the Sombra changes, because they don't want to repeat what happened with Ana, since they're already seeing higher tier Sombra play emerge. So basically they don't want to buff Sombra until people spend enough time with her to fully realize her potential before tweaking her. The new maps they added, of course, included Eichenwald, which when he was talking about this, he actually mentioned the crazy play that happened during the World Cup by the South Korean team. It's the one where Zarya goes in the window of the castle to shoot her ult, which led to a team kill. The arcade was introduced that had Eco Point Antarctica, and they had seasonal events, Summer Games, Halloween Terror, and Winter Wonderland. He also talked about Oasis, how Oasis has been on the PTR, and they're on track to sticking to what they said at BlizzCon, that Oasis should be live on the main servers in 2017. And this next part was kind of interesting. He briefly mentioned the future of seasonal events coming up, some that he thinks are obvious, and some he says people won't have any idea they're working on. I don't know what that could be. I know in the BattleNet forums they said that they weren't doing a Valentine's Day event or an Easter event, so they must be doing an event for something that they think we're not going to expect. If anyone has any good guesses for what this seasonal event could be, or these seasonal events could be, let me know down below in the comments. This next part is pretty cool because they're going to be adding customization to the communication wheel. So soon, you'll be able to access up to 4 other voice lines, and you can access 4 different emotes. And you can keybind them all so you can use them however you want. You can play them right after each other so that voice lines are concatenated together. And apparently you can even do the same thing with sprays. So you'll have a spray wheel that comes out and you can choose one of 4 sprays. You can only have one that's out in the environment at the same time, but you can choose what spray you want depending on the situation or the map. That way it kind of makes sprays, emotes, and voice lines a little bit more valuable. Because instead of just sticking to your favorite one, and then you don't even care if you pull any other ones in loot boxes, now you'll be able to have a few that you can use whenever you want. I think that's a really cool thing to add to the game. He mentioned something else that was also discussed at BlizzCon, which was the idea of forcing party members into team chat. And back at BlizzCon, he said this was something they wouldn't ever want to do because when they tested it, it didn't feel good. Well, in this video where he brings it up again, he says that they're sticking to what they said at BlizzCon and not forcibly moving people from party chat into team chat, but they thought of a way to encourage players to join team chat by adding a button that's similar to the stay as a group button. So basically when you join a game, you won't need to type team chat at the start of every single match. You can just hit the button instead. Then it got really interesting again because he started talking about upcoming heroes. And he gave the disclaimer that they always work on more content than is actually released because a lot of the stuff just ends up being scrapped. So not everything they're working on will actually come out. And he gave an example where he said that they worked on Genji for a year and a half before they released him. So it went through a whole process of working on him, reworking on him, putting him on the shelf, bringing him out again and working on him again until he was finally done. But interestingly, he said that there is one hero they're working on that is very promising. This hero that he's talking about has already been pushed through the art pipeline, which means they have a higher level of confidence in this character, more so than other characters they're working on. And there's art being developed for this character. And with this one too, if you think you might know what role this character would fulfill, like a tank, a support, a defense, let me know down below in the comments. I'm curious to see what role most people think the next character will be. So then he said they have plans for improving some of the spectator modes, like adding a map. So if you're watching a tournament, the viewers can see a map where everything is. And then he wrapped the whole thing up by saying that they want to give people a way to find custom games. Because right now you can only add friends or people that you have their battle tag into your custom game. So they're working on something called the server browser, which gives people a big list of custom games. So for example, if you wanted to set up a public custom game with a custom rule set or a custom map rotation for people to join in, this would be how they would find your game. It's kind of like something you would see in a lot of FPS games, but now it's actually coming to Overwatch. They're basically making it so that you never run out of things to do in Overwatch. But anyway, the early 1.0 version of this will come out in early 2017, and then they plan to expand upon it later in 2017. This next story is about a thread on Reddit from a YouTuber called Tyler Falbo that posted this. Hey Reddit, we need your help. We are small-time YouTubers who have recently discovered someone with 300x as many subscribers has made a near shot-by-shot ripoff of one of our videos. The video has nearly 3 times as many plays as ours. Here is a side-by-side comparison. We don't know what to do. And the link goes to a YouTube doubler, which is basically a site that plays 2 YouTube videos at the same time, side by side. And the reason for that is so that you can see the shot-by-shot comparison of the 2 videos. And the second video does look pretty similar. So since this post went up, this thread already received over 100,000 upvotes, and it appears that the recreated version was taken down. And at the time of recording this, the original video by Tyler Falbo already has nearly 700,000 plays. So it seems like things worked out pretty well. But it's pretty crazy to see a thread like that blow up so big. But it seems like it had a lot to do with the fact that people felt that there were almost no changes at all made to the copied video. I wanted to give a shout out to Kodzo, who was the one behind the Zarya play. So his link will be down below in the description if you want to check out some more. One last thing before I go, if any of you guys want to submit stories for me to talk about in future videos, all you have to do is go to the Discord link that is in the description of this video. And once you're there, you can read how to submit news. And that's all for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. And if you haven't checked out some of these other videos on the channel, you can click on them to check them out, whether you're on PC or on mobile. Either way, it still works now. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.